Hello everyone, welcome to video 3 of my series Beginning C++ Tutorials. Today we're going to go over getting user input, using user input, and using logic on the user input and variables. Today, when you learn how to do all these things, you'll be able to make more meaningful programs from, instead of just having something that just puts out already static objects, you're going to actually have a program that can be dynamic. So let's begin. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and clear out your source code, make it look kind of like this. You should just be left with an int main, just your blank, and then make sure we include in IOStream and string like we did before. As you recall, IOStream is going to give us our input and output streaming, and our string is going to give us the ability to use strings. Now always remember to update your header here, just to keep up with your new code. You can name it hello, input, and logic. That's what I put. If you want to put something else, go ahead. I always date mine. Alright, well starting out, let's get some input from the user. Well, the easiest way to do that is using sin. C-I-N, console in. So the keyword is from the standard library from IOStream. So remember, we use this using namespace standard to keep us from having to put the std : and then CIN. So that'll keep us from having to do that, so we can just type in CIN. Alright, and then we're going to use the insertion operator. Or I'm sorry, the extraction operator. Because remember, we use cout, we use the insertion one to send what we're typing into the console. Well, we're trying to pull away from the console and into a variable. So if we want to do that, let's create us a variable called int user age. Let's make it equal 0 when we instantiate it, so that we instantiate it like we should. Now let's take that user input and put it into user age. So right there we have ability to take an input. We can go ahead and hit build and build. Now hit run. You'll notice you get just a blinking cursor, and you can type a number into it, hit enter, and it returns to the screen. When you hit enter, it closes. That's because we aren't doing anything with this input. We now are able to store the 23 that I typed in into user age, but we're not yet doing anything with it. So let's learn how to use that. But first, we need a meaningful input. How would the user know to put in an age with just a underscore sitting there blinking? So we all know cout is how we get stuff on the console. So let's make us a prompt. Let's put enter age : space. Now we're not going to end L that way, because if you end L right there, where you end the line, then user age is actually going to be inputted right below it. But this will keep it inputted right to the right of that colon, and it just makes it look more like a form. So now that we have that, we can hit build and just see what we got now. Hit build and then run it. Enter age. Now you have more of an easier to use user interface. We still aren't doing anything though with these variables that we're filling. So let's decide to do something with it. To do something with the variable, we got to use logic. So we're going to end up using logic to set up branching chances in the code. So like, if you want to check to see if maybe the user is a certain age, you can do that. So let's just put this on the screen just to see what it looks like. So we're going to put end L, and then let's put user age. And I'm going to go ahead and put another end L just to make it in the line one more time. So now if you build this and run it, put 21, it returns 21 to the screen. So now we know that our variable's working. So let's do something with this. We should create a program that will take a user's name, take their age, and let's check a few check if they're 21, if they're 18, if they're 16, or if they're under all of that. Now, this could be usable as a program maybe for a system that checks to make sure you're 18 to vote on something. Or maybe it's a program to check to make sure that you can buy a drink at your local bar. So to do this, we're going to have to use logic. So simply put, let's create another variable called username. Let's initialize it to blank. And now we're going to create another menu just like we did. So enter name. And send, I can't type today, send user name. Now that's going to put that input into username. So now we should probably put an indel right here just to end the line, because otherwise it's just going to put, when you type in, it's going to put enter age right at the end of it. Alright, and then down here we're going to change this up a little bit. Let's make something a little more interesting. We're going to put username, another bracket, insertion. Then we're going to put is, another insertion, user age, another insertion, space, years old. So that right there, you can simply see there, it's going to run from left to right. So first it's going to end the line. Then it's going to put the username. So I'm just going to substitute Tim. So Tim, it's going to put is 20, let's say 23 years old. And then it's going to end the line again. So we could go ahead and build this and try it out. Enter name, John. John is 33 years old. So there you go. You're already starting to use some of your input to output a new string that is more user readable. But now we still wanted to be able to check to see if they're of age to, let's say, drink, vote, drive, and let's just say they're under 16 otherwise. So we're going to end up using a logic known as an if statement. If evaluates whatever in the parentheses after it, and if it is true, so pretty much if true, do this. So then you can put a squiggly bracket set right under it. Now if you were to type anything in here, cout, it's going to print do if whatever's inside of these parentheses is true. So we all know greater than, less than, equal to or greater than symboling. So we can do that right here. Let's put user age is greater than or equal to 21. This is the drinking age where I'm from. So if they are, we need to put something out there. We'll go cout, username, username is old enough to drink. So there we go. Now we have that. So now if we want to check to see if they can vote. So say if someone puts 19 right now, this right here, if the person enters 19 in this user age input, this will evaluate to false because user age is not greater than or equal to 21, so it's false. It will simply skip over this line and go to the next right here. It'll go to this line right here. And if there's nothing there, it just ends the program. There's nothing else for it to run. It will skip this entire line because it's not. This does not equate to true. So let's go ahead and make another if statement. If user age is greater than or equal to 18. Username is old enough to vote. There we go. Now, if the person were to put 19 in that user age, it's gonna not evaluate. It's gonna evaluate here and say, no, they're not 21 or over. So it's not gonna run this line. But then it's gonna skip down to here and evaluate this one. 19 is greater than or equal to 18, so therefore this evaluates to true. So this line will be ran. After this line has completed, it will go down to the next line and do whatever you tell it there. So now we could put if user age is greater than or equal to 16. This is the driving age where I'm from. Is old enough to drive. So now, if the person would have put 19, again, this would evaluate to false, so we'd skip down to this line. This would evaluate to true, so we'd run this line. And it would put on the screen, John is old enough to vote. Then it will skip to this line. It'll evaluate this. Yes, they're over 16. So therefore, it will run this line, and it'll say John is old enough to drive. So now, what if none of these equate to true? Well, we know that they're under 16 then. So we could simply put an else logic statement, which means the last if statement that was ran right here, if this is false, run whatever is after this, after else. So now we put our curly brackets. We could put cout, username is under 16. So there. Now if someone were to put 15 as their user age, this would evaluate to false. Then it would go to this line. False. This line. False. Well, since this is false, it will go to here, start this line, and put this line on the screen. Username is under 16. But if they were to say 18, this would be false. True, so this would be on the screen. True, so this would be on the screen. And since this got put on the screen, this was true, it skips over this one and goes to the next line. So there you go. Now we can build this and see what happens. And run it. 22. John is 22 years old. He's old enough to drink, old enough to vote, and old enough to drive. Let's run it one more time. This time put 15. John is 15 years old. John is under 16. So now your program is actually dynamic. You're taking in information and you're using it and outputting meaningful data. So you can see where this could go. Using this is how you make dynamic programs where you can put some type of input in and get something back. In our next video, we'll go over how to use a few other things called loops, while loops and for loops, and then we'll get into some more advanced things such as creating our own functions to run and put in a certain input called a parameter and get a certain output back. But until then, keep practicing. Check out the website at www.timmymx.com and just check out the posts there, because I post after every one of these. I post all the source code, and I post like kind of a cheat sheet to go along with this that tells you all of the new words that we've learned and stuff like that. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time. Take it easy.